All right, welcome back to The Lead Word. This is your host, Trey Dalbert, along with me, as always, Chad Bauman. What is today? Today is Friday, September 11th. Chad, football's back. We had Thursday Night Football, Chiefs, Texans. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about three games each that we want to kind of dive into before Sunday. So, Chad, what's going on? What did you think about the Thursday night game?
Well, I was watching it while I was working. 'Cause I'm working from home, so I had my work laptop in front of me, and then I had the TV on in the background. And I don't know, man. It went pretty much exactly what I was expecting. We talked about it on the last show. Pretty much, if Houston wants to win this thing, it's got to be Deshaun Watson. And they went into Kansas City and got the brakes beat off of them. They scored a touchdown at the end to kind of close the gap a little bit. But outside of that second drive, when they got the 7 from the David Johnson run, it wasn't really close outside of that one drive.
Yeah, it kind of – I don't want to, go crazy because Will Fuller had a good game. But it felt like DeAndre Hopkins wasn't out there. You could notice it. Nobody was catching the ball. I said 3 or 4 times, Hopkins gets that one. Hopkins gets that one. He catches that one too.
Absolutely. And I even said that in the Slack when on their first drive.
That's the only thing I kept thinking about the whole game.
Yeah, it was either a second. Yeah, it was a second down play. It was basically just like a back shoulder fade and one-on-one coverage to Will Fuller, and he dropped it. And I said, Hopkins would have caught that, put it right in the Slack.
And Keddy Stills had one too. He should have caught. It should have been like a 30, 40-yard gain, and no thanks.
Yeah, and they were going pretty much one-on-one on the outside the entire game.
Yeah,
Kansas City was. And they had a rookie out there.
It would have been a perfect Hopkins game.
He probably would have had 500 yards. That's to be real.
I honestly, and I shouldn't say it's too bad because he didn't have to take the extension, but the lack of talent on that team is unbelievable. We talk about Jacksonville tanking. Bill O'Brien is unintentionally tanking.
Well, it's all Bob's fault.
The whole thing. They're not good.
Everything.
They're not good. You can just watch the game and be like, wow, they just don't have anybody who's really good outside that quarterback.
And I don't see how you can be an owner and see the moves and everything that he's done and just be like, I'm just not going to do anything. You're fucking up my team, but I'm not going to do anything about it.
The funny thing is David Johnson actually looked okay. It just didn't matter because that's what Carlos Hyde gave them.
Right. And like I said it in the last show. I called it. I said, I'm expecting Pat Mahomes to have 3 touchdowns, maybe 4.
You know what's crazy?
3 scores.
I don't even think he played that well.
No, especially not in the beginning.
It's not like
they left a lot of points on the table.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like Mahomes went out there and he just started killing them. In my opinion, he really didn't play that well. That could have easily been 20 points worse than it was.
He missed bad on a couple throws.
Yeah. I don't think he was on top of it yesterday.
But they just had too much firepower.
The 2-point play was alarming to me, where it was Andy, and maybe it was the touchdown. Andy Reid had Tyreek Hill lined up on the left, and he basically just said, run as fast as you can to the right, and you're going to get open. Houston has nothing. That
was a touchdown thing.
Yeah, it was a touchdown then. Andy Reid just said, okay, Tyreek Hill, we're going to line you up on the left, but I want you to run as fast as possible to the right, and I promise you'll be open.
It's weird because it wasn't like you're right, because it wasn't like a real route.
No.
Like when you go back and look at it, it wasn't a drag, because like drag's like a little bit more rounded. It wasn't like a bench. It wasn't even a slant.
It wasn't any of it.
It literally just ran diagonally across the field.
That to me summed up the game. It's just like Houston has dudes and the Texans have, Kansas City has dudes and Houston has nobody.
Except for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, until the end of the game, I don't think him too. He didn't play that well, at least in the beginning. At the end, it got a little bit better for him. But again, he was still having guys just drop passes that DeAndre Hopkins would have caught blindfolded, And it was like, what do you want him to do?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked really good though. If you're Kansas City, you have to be thrilled about that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he was already gone in our fantasy draft this year.
He wasn't.
He was drafted like last year, wasn't he?
No, he was taken this year.
Then he was taken like way before I picked.
6. He was taken 6.
What did I had like the 9th pick.
Yeah.
Or the 7th pick?
Whatever. He was gone like 1 or 2 spots before you.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the people in our league were absolute fools to pass on him. Chuba Hubbard.
Should have been. I'm trying to think of the quarterbacks. I think all the good ones were gone. So he should have been the first pick.
Burrow was not. That was it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe Burrow. You could have drafted either one of those guys that won in our fantasy league.
And Justin Jefferson went ahead of him, which, like Justin Jefferson, come on.
Yeah. So, Kansas City, they were rolling.
Andy it's once again, Andy doesn't lose with time to prepare. And I honestly didn't think they played that well.
And you know what? Now that you were talking about the Tyreek Hill touchdown, I just remember Chris Collingsworth talking about how great Andy Reid is at drawing up plays after that touchdown. I'm just like, well, he didn't really draw anything up.
He is great at drawing up plays, but that one he didn't really have to.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember him just like, oh, look at the great play design Andy Reid's able to get his guys open. I'm like, he didn't really do anything. He just said,
that's called having horses. Yeah.
Do you have anything else with this game, Trey? Because again, Houston got the brakes beat off them. I don't think there's really anything else to say.
The funny part is, I was really pissed because I have Watson in our fantasy league, but it actually made me like, this is going to work out. He's going to get a lot of garbage time touchdowns this year.
Yeah, and fortunately, no penalties for turnovers in our league. So
yeah,
I wouldn't even say it's garbage time because I still think Deshaun Watson's kind of like, I feel like Russell Wilson has more help, but I feel like he's kind of in that same boat where like Bill O'Brien is just like Pete Carroll. They're just trying to do everything they can to make their quarterbacks' lives harder.
Yeah.
And it's just like, help me. Jesus Christ, help me.
Yeah. Takeaways or previews for Sunday. Do you want to start? Or you want me to start?
I mean, I'll start because I got something pretty lengthy that I have to talk about with the Eagles that's just been pissing me off this entire week.
Okay.
Well, I guess not the entire week, but since it was announced. So we talked about last week, we talked about how I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to win the division because basically Matt Pryor is your starting left tackle. So basically what was happening is Jason Peters, understandably, wanted more money to play left tackle because he's making guard money. You know, guard's not as important as left tackle. It's important, but it's not as important. The front office didn't want to pay him because they didn't want they don't like to restructure guys that already have contracts. So they were like, we don't want to open up the door for other people to think that they can just, hold us hostage for more money, basically. Which I get that. But come to find out, they restructure Lane Johnson's deal. Then they give Peters more money. And it just kind of has the feeling like, as a front office, you were willing to put out an inferior product just to save a few dollars. Like, if Lane Johnson didn't restructure his deal, the Eagles are they're fine rolling with Matt Pryor.
And you know what's funny? The second Jason Peters got a little extra money, guess who else bitched about his contract?
Was it Ertz?
Yes. Did you see that or no?
I saw something like he tweeted or some kind of interview or something. He talked about how like he wants to play in Philly his whole career. He looked up to like Kobe Bryant, who was always a Laker, and he wants to emulate Kobe Bryant by always playing in one city. I saw that.
I saw it said, I want to spend my entire career here, but I'm not sure the feeling is mutual. Little bitter there.
So here's my thing. Like, I get where Zach's coming from, but bro, you have 2 more years on your contract. Yeah. It's not like even Dak Prescott, his contract is up. Like, I get him. Like, I want to re-sign this.
And it was up last year.
Right.
They just franchised
him.
They
franchised him. That's right. So, like, that I get. You're in your last year. You want to restructure. Cool. We're 2 fucking years out, Zach. Can we just fucking play football for 1 year and then get to the contract? Like, I don't – and I get it. Injuries can happen, lowers his value, but I find it hard to believe that Zach Ertz didn't know his value going into that last contract negotiation. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I get it. We've got people to pay, though. It's not like we can focus on you while you're still under contract. Like, who did they just pay?
Yeah, and their cap situation is a nightmare next year.
Yeah, they basically went all in with trading for Darius Slay because he's making a lot of money.
Tons.
Javon Hargrave's making a lot of money. Fletcher Cox is making a lot of money.
Jeffrey.
Alshon, yeah, Jesus fucking Christ. That guy's getting paid.
Once his contract, I believe, kicks in next year, the new one.
So, I mean, it's like, dude, we want to pay you. We want you to be here. We just can't right now. Wait 2 fucking years, Zach.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about our show, and I'm like, I fucked up. I'm thinking about it. I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not picking Dallas. You know why? Because Dallas does this every year. Dallas brings in all these shiny weapons, and here's CeeDee Lamb, and we trade for Amari Cooper, and the same shit happens. Maybe they'll win the division, but none of it'll fucking matter. It's the same team every year. Until Jerry Jones dies, they're never winning anything. Let's just be honest about it.
I mean, they're choke artists, but
always.
But that's a lot. You know, you're expecting Dallas to choke. Like this Eagles team, their ceiling is 10 wins. I think they'll probably be 8 or 9.
The talent isn't 10 wins. The talent is 12 wins. The problem is everything else brings them down.
Well, anyway, we kind of like got off track with that Zach Ertz thing, but basically my point with this Eagles thing is they're going to come in and they're going to win on Sunday against Washington. But they pretty much fucked themselves. And again, they just left the bad taste in my mouth. The fact that you're willing to roll with Matt Pryor just to save, some money for this season. Like, it's not like if you paid Jason Peters, it was really going to affect next season. It was only going to ever affect this year.
Yep.
So why are you wasting my time with Matt Pryor?
Are you worried about the game on Sunday? They almost lost to Washington week 1 last year. Well, I mean, they kind of took the game over late in the fourth quarter, but it got a little dicey there for a second last year.
I think last year, Washington just came out and they hit him in the mouth. But I don't think that's going to happen this year. Doug P., he's 4-0 in week 1 games as his head coach. Like I said, I'm not worried about Sunday. I'm worried about like the direction this front office is going in. The fact that you're willing to fucking roll with Matt Pryor just to save a little bit of money, you're right, their cap situation is fucking horrible. But giving Jason Peters a little bit of extra money this year wasn't going to kill you in the offseason trying to bring guys in. Because it's only a 1-year deal.
They're not going to be able to keep Derek Barnett next year. There's no shot.
I mean, well, what has he really ever done? Is there any reason to keep Derek Barnett?
No, but his 5th-year option will be like, you can't pay him that. Whatever the $16 million or whatever. There's no way they can keep.
He hasn't done anything.
There's no way they can keep him next year.
And it sucks. And that's another thing. And it's an indictment on the Eagles front office. When I think about people's what's the word here? When I think about individual people and like who they are, I look at their average, I don't look at what your best is, what your worst is. Like, if you go out and you're fucking you're, let's say, Miles Sanders, and you have a 4-touchdown game, right? I don't look at that and be like, well, Miles Sanders is this going to get 4 touchdowns every game kind of guy. I look at that's his ceiling. That's what he could be.
Speaking of which, questionable on Sunday, you might want to put Boston Scott back on the lineup.
No, he'll play. I think he's going to be good to play. Okay. But anyway, so and I don't look at like if Miles Sanders has like -5 yards for the entire game and that's his worst. I don't look at that. That's who he is. I look at his average. Your average is what you are. For Howie Roseman, yeah, he had a great peak for the Super Bowl year. But outside of that, I feel like Howie's been very average as a GM. He's pretty much sucked at drafting guys, sucked when it comes to signing guys and bringing in new talent. Yeah, there's been some highlights. But overall, he's had pretty much one good year and everything else has been mediocre.
I said the same thing about Ozzie Newsome after they won the Super Bowl in 2012. I said the guy fucking lost his mind. And people were like, you just won the Super Bowl. Yeah, well, I don't want Matt Elam in the first round. Tyrann Mathieu sitting there. Like, why are we drafting Matt Elam in the first round? For like 3 or 4 years straight, Baltimore lost his mind. And eventually he's like, well, we better bring in Eric DeCosta because Ozzie's kind of lost it.
So that's really all I have to say with the Eagles. It's just that it's really frustrating that going into week 1, they have all these fucking problems. Like this, I feel like I'm a fucking Cleveland fan right now. Is this what they feel like? Is this how they live their fucking lives?
No.
It's just like pure fucking shitstorm turmoil every day. Is that what it feels like?
No, you can't say that. You have Wentz.
Okay. We have Wentz.
Yeah.
So I'm close to almost being Cleveland. I don't know. What is that?
Still not close. Speaking of Cleveland, I guess I can get to mine. I have 2 sort of themes. Well, it's kind of one theme, but it's kind of the same thing. I think Cleveland might win outright on Sunday. People might think I'm crazy. And I know they play Baltimore, and Baltimore's coming in all confident, but I think Cleveland might win on Sunday. I really, really do. And it'll kind of replicate the next takeaway, but I think Baltimore is just full of themselves. This is a team riding high, and they go in and they kind of have been acting like the Titans loss has been a fluke. Lamar Jackson all offseason has been like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I think we took him not seriously enough. We'll be fine. Every comment this offseason has been like, Titans weren't better than us. Don't know what happened. We'll be fine. They're like sleepwalking or something. The all camp reports. Lamar Jackson, he takes like a week off, and then he shows up, and then he's throwing 2 picks to the practice squad. It doesn't feel like anything from I've read that they're prepared. And they'll say that they're prepared. It doesn't feel like they're prepared.
Yeah, they're not going to come out and be like, yeah, we're fucking we're way over our heads right now. Of course they're going to say they're prepared.
There have been concerning things I've read. Lamar Jackson, he's getting hurt on jet skis. Like, what are you doing, dude? You haven't, like, it'd be different if the guy got paid, but shouldn't he be like, hey, maybe I'm not going to go on a jet ski and try to jump off boats? Like, what are you doing?
Especially because, like, I need to be able to run to be a good quarterback. Like, that's my whole fucking thing.
He missed able to run. Yeah, he missed another week of practice with a groin injury, didn't show up. Like, I really think they could lose. I don't know what Cleveland's going to look like, but if Cleveland is on top of their shit and Kevin Stefanski says he's calling plays now, if he kind of shows some things that they're not prepared for, I think Baltimore could lose.
And I'm actually glad this was your takeaway because, like we discussed before the show, I actually was prepared to kind of talk about Cleveland a little bit. I sort of agree with you. I think this game is going to be a tone setter for Cleveland.
Correct.
I think they came in last year. They had all these expectations. It was, we're ready to not be the Cleveland Browns anymore. We're ready to be good. Finally, we've sucked for 400 years in a row. It feels like we've had, and shout out to Serenity. Trivia show question. We've had 29 fucking quarterbacks over the last 23 years. We're ready to be better. And then, they come out they just lay an egg. I'm pretty sure they got beat up pretty bad in week 1. Myles Garrett is smacking people with helmets and shit. It was a fucking dumpster fire, which we're used to from Cleveland all year. But now I feel like there's like no fucking pressure. Like, it came out last year, got fucking hit in the mouth all season, and then it's like, yeah, same old fucking Cleveland. Now it's just like, I mean, no one is expecting anything. We still have, as far as we can say, a pretty talented roster. Maybe we have, certain things we can make up for or whatever. But I agree with you. I think Baltimore could lose. I don't think it's out of any stretch of imagination. I think this could be a tone setter for Cleveland this week 1. They get off to a good start, just score on their first series, and they can win the game. And then they can maybe set the tone for their entire season with that.
This is the biggest thing because I don't think people realize this. The Ravens' defense, while it's good, is not the same. I should clarify that. It's just differently built. Before, 5 years ago, they had all these big guys. Like, Terrell Suggs is big, and C.J. Mosley's big, and they had these 350-pound nose tackles. Their defense is not the same. It's not built the same way. They're good. They have talent. Calais Campbell's good. He's not he's their nose tackle this year.
Right.
He's not big. Patrick Queen's their middle linebacker this year, 220 pounds. Their other linebacker, Malik Harrison, 230 pounds. They're a small, fast defense now. If Kevin Stefanski is smart, he will run the ball 30 times, and they can win.
Yeah, and they've got the running back to do it.
Yeah.
Like Nick Chubb, he's got a little bit of wiggle to him, but I think at the end of the day, he wants to make contact.
If they run the ball 30 times, they can win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
All right. Chad, what do you got?
Next takeaway, we're staying in the AFC. We're gonna go to what are they? The East? Yeah, they're the East. New England.
AFC.
No,
East.
Did I say NFC?
Yeah.
You knew what I meant. I meant AFC. Well, anyway, we're talking about New England, and I'm excited for Cam Newton, to be 100% honest with you. I'm ready to see what he does in New England. I think Bill Belichick, this is the quarterback he's been waiting for. I think we saw it a little bit when they had Jacoby Brissett. You know, Tom Brady, what was he, suspended a few years ago? Or he was injured? No, he was suspended.
They were running designed quarterback runs with Brissett.
Right. I think this is the quarterback that he's been waiting for. He's been waiting for old man Brady to fucking retire or die, and it just hasn't happened. And he's like, just get the fuck out of my offense. I'm seeing Lamar Jacksons and Mike Vicks and Marcus Mariota's, even though obviously some of those guys kind of suck. But, you know, Colin Kaepernick's, I'm seeing those guys run all over the place. That 1 year with Colin Kaepernick,
and
obviously he got benched by Blaine Gabbert. But
the funny thing is, Belichick and Saban have always built their defense the same way, and they seem to struggle with those guys.
And I think he's been waiting for a guy who could just get in there, throw the ball, run the ball, and he could just move them all over the field and have him doing all kinds of stuff. And I think Cam Newton's going to have himself a day. And I think as long as he stays healthy, I think New England's just they're going to be something on offense. And I think it starts with the Dolphins, who they're not that great on defense. They have a few guys, but I think New England's going to roll. And I think Cam's going to have a big day.
Are you worried about the fact that Fitzpatrick beat them last year? And I know there's a chance the Patriots offense should be better, but we're talking about a Dolphins team that was, you know, they stuck it to New England at the end of the year, and New England needed to win that game to get a bye. Fitzpatrick kind of beat him up last year, and Brian Flores seems to know what he's doing. And he's the one Belichick assistant that feels like he gets it.
I think Bill Belichick is coming into this game, and I think that game last year left a bad taste in his mouth. And I think he's like, if I had any other quarterback but Tom fucking Brady throwing lame ducks last year, I'd have won that game. And now he's got Cam Newton, who he's the Ferrari. Don't get me wrong. He's an older model Ferrari. He's not a 2020. He's a 2011 Ferrari, but he's still a Ferrari. And I think he's gonna let Cam loose. And we're gonna see Cam run the ball, we're gonna see him throw the ball, and I think Cam Newton's just gonna come out and he's gonna go on a tear. And I think maybe Miami, because New England's defense, they're not really that talented.
I'm so worried about the talent on that team.
I think it's a possibility it could be a shootout, but I think if it's a shootout, it's a shootout. New England wins.
To me, it's literally, even if Cam's good, it's impossible for that team to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they had 12 guys opt out that were gonna start. It's insane.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't saying they were gonna win the Super Bowl or anything. I was just saying Cam's gonna have a day on week 1.
All right. And then I'm going to go to my next takeaway. And this is a team that kind of got off to a slow start. We didn't know quite what to make of this rookie quarterback last year. He went into Detroit and they tied the Lions, and he had a couple weird starts and getting blown out by his bad offensive line play. I think Arizona is a team that could also win week 1. Last year, they played San Francisco, and they played them really tough. They almost beat them twice. They lost by like 3 or 4 points both times. This year, the Cardinals are my team. They're going to be a lot better than people think. We saw the impact that DeAndre Hopkins didn't have with the Texans last night because he wasn't on the field. That's what Kyler Murray gets this year. Last year, he was running around for his life, but he was running around for his life with nowhere to go with the ball. This year, Kyler Murray, while I think their offensive line should be better, will still be running around for his life, but there's a guy to go with the ball. And all these fantasy people have talked about, well, they run this air raid offense, and there's 4 wide receivers out there, and we don't know how many targets Hopkins is going to get. Bullshit. That guy's going to get fed the ball early, often, and all the fucking time.
Yeah, who else are you fucking throwing to? Like, you're not throwing to fucking Christian Kirk over DeAndre Hopkins.
Every fantasy outlet I read, it's Hopkins is ranked 8th or 9th or 10th, or it's dog shit. I don't care what anybody says, or if anybody's worried about, well, they run a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, so Hopkins isn't going to see the targets he normally does. Bullshit. Murray's going to be running around for his life, and he's going to see one guy and one guy only for 90% of the game. It's going to make an enormous impact. I don't think Richard Sherman is what he was 5 years ago. Hopkins isn't going to make a big difference. Arizona is going to be a lot better than people think. And Kenyon fucking Drake was really good last year. Isaiah Simmons comes in. They couldn't guard a tight end to save their life. They had nobody that could guard tight ends. Arizona was 32nd in the league guarding tight ends last year. We have Isaiah Simmons now, and guess who he's guarding? George fucking Kittle. I think Arizona can win.
I guess my only question, and then if you have anything more to say, you can say what you have to say. Who the fuck is like, oh, because Arizona runs 4 wide-out sets, there's not going to be any way DeAndre Hopkins is getting the ball. It's not like Houston didn't run a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver
all the time.
Sets.
All the time.
Like, why is it – and they have better wide receivers than Arizona has. Well, I mean, combination DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, and Kenny Stills. Who do they got in fucking Arizona? DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and Larry Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald's 800.
Yeah, like, I mean, he can still play. I think he had a pretty good year last year. It wasn't, crazy good or anything, but it was okay. But he's not your main guy. I think Kyler Murray, everybody knows DeAndre Hopkins is the main guy. So if DeAndre Hopkins didn't have any problems playing in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets in Houston, I don't think playing in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets in Arizona is going to be any different. Yeah, maybe he's not used to the time zone yet. I don't know. That's a better excuse than, oh, they play 4 wide receivers.
I think it's the same time zone. It's Texas and Arizona. Aren't they right next to each other?
They could be. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I saw I could be wrong about this. I think ESPN has them at 7 as the wide receiver 7 this year. And I've seen other fantasy outlets that don't have them ranked inside the top 5, which is crazy to me.
I think until the season ends, you can't rank him out of the top 5.
No.
Like until week 17 is over and all the stats are collected and there's no more games left in the regular season, you can't say DeAndre Hopkins is not a top 5 guy. Because he could have a 500 fucking yard game and put him back in the top 5 like that.
Which is what I think could happen against San Francisco. I don't think Richard Sherman's the same guy anymore. He got kind of toasted in the Super Bowl. He's still a good player, but I think Hopkins is the type of player that can really make things different for Arizona. And nobody's talking about this. Like, they added the best receiver in football, and it's not just like the best receiver in football. It's a guy that doesn't drop anything. He catches, like, he turns the 50-50 ball into 90-10. It's his. It's 10 plays a game that have turned into first downs or touchdowns.
And if you have him in single coverage, he's getting the ball. It's not a question. If you're 1-on-1 in a jump ball situation with DeAndre Hopkins, that's like fucking me trying to guard Shaq. He's gonna win.
I don't know how much you watch like other sports networks. I don't watch a ton, but from things I've read or watched, nobody's talking about Hopkins. I don't get it. I think Arizona could be good this year to the point where I don't think it's crazy if they win the division.
I would say they're not going to win the division, but
I don't think it's impossible.
You said last week, I mean, I wouldn't say it's impossible either. I would say they have maybe a 5% chance to win the division.
I give them 25.
But you said last week,
I give them 25% chance.
I would give them 5%, which, considering what they were last year, I still think that's a pretty significant improvement in their odds.
I do think they're making the playoffs.
We talked about it last week when we did the NFC preview. That's not far-fetched. Honestly, I gave my wild card teams who I said, it was going to be one of the teams in the NFC West. It was going to be one of the teams in the NFC North. And then I said it was going to be the Saints because I didn't pick them to win the division. I mean, I would certainly if I had to give odds on it, I would say they have like a 60% chance to make the playoffs.
If they played in the NFC North, I'd take them to win the division.
It could happen.
If they played in the NFC South, I'd take them to win the division.
They played in the NFC East, I'd take them to win the division.
They play with fucking Russell Wilson in San Francisco, and I think the Rams did a little bit of a save job. I like their draft a lot. It's a brutal division.
Yeah, it's a great division, and I think that's their only problem is they're in a tough division, and they got to play 3 really tough teams twice. So I think that's my only thing, and that's why I say their odds on winning the division would be 5%. It's just they have those really tough teams twice.
Last takeaway for you, Chad, or before the Sunday's games. What do you got?
Last thing I got, we're going to go to the NFC South. We got a division showdown week 1. We have Tampa Bay coming in, playing the Saints. I don't know if Tampa's home or not. I don't know who the home team is.
New Orleans is.
New Orleans is a home team. I'm 100% expecting Tampa to just get blasted. I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball. I think Tom Brady's going to try to throw deep. He's either going to get sacked because it's not going to be there, or he's going to throw picks because he doesn't have the deep ball arm anymore. And Bruce Arians is not going to play that check down shit. Like, he's not going to have it. So I think they're going to get blasted.
I actually have a lot on this game. I know we're running a long show here, but
we're only not that long. We're only at 40 minutes, and then you have your last takeaway. So, right. I mean,
I agree with you, but I'm going to make a devil's. Why can't I think of the word? Devil's advocate. Yeah, there we go. Devil's advocate argument, just for the sake of it. Tom Brady's been in the league for a long time. He goes to New Orleans, no fans. No fans in the stands. It's not a typical New Orleans game. If anything's going to benefit a quarterback that has been in the league for a long time, it's going to be someone like Brady, to where he doesn't have to deal with any fans. It's kind of like practice for him. He's done it 1,000 billion quadrillion times.
I would agree with you. But one thing with New Orleans, and they kind of, because in 2011 they were like unbelievable at home. They
have those weird years. It feels like every third year they just don't lose at home.
I think they had this reputation from the year they won the Super Bowl, like 2008, when they won the Super Bowl, they, it was like right after Katrina, and they had an unbelievable home record. I think they built that reputation that they played better at home. But over the last few years, if you go back and you look at their win totals, their road record isn't that far off from their home record. Like, over the last few years, they've been equally as good on the road as they have been at home. So I don't think not having those fans is as big of a detriment to New Orleans as people may think. Just because I think it's kind of like you mentioned with the Ravens, where they kind of had this identity of being big, imposing defense, but now they're little guys. They're still good, but they're little guys. And I think that's what's going on with New Orleans. People are like, oh, they've got this great home thing going, and, they're not going to have the fans there to give them the advantage they normally have. Honestly, I think not having fans at the games isn't going to be that big of a problem because of what they've done on the road in recent seasons. It's not like the Eagles, where you can clearly see they win more at home than they do on the road. So I'm not worried about it, not having fans.
This is the biggest point I wanted to bring up. I forgot the other one I wanted to talk about, but Mike Evans not going to play. Not the ideal start that you want for Tom Brady. Like, even if you're a Tom Brady believer, it's kind of nice to have Mike Evans out there. Now we know the situation in New Orleans. Marshawn Lattimore is really good, but their cornerback depth is not so proven. Well, I can stick him on Chris Godwin, and I'm good.
And then somebody else can cover that white guy that Tom Brady likes.
Yeah.
Whatever his name. The guy on Scott's fucking fantasy team. I don't remember his name.
Scotty Miller.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's not like if fucking Mike Evans played, it was going to really make that much of a difference anyway.
Oh, it helps. It helps.
Tom Brady's not throwing him the fucking ball. He can't get him the ball 20 yards downfield. It's not going to make a fucking difference.
A hell of a decoy, though.
Yeah, I guess.
I remembered it. The last point I wanted to take or bring up. I do think that sometimes the coach makes the quarterback, not from maybe a skill standpoint, but from a production. Scheme. Yeah, the scheme. Sometimes I think the scheme helps the production. In this case, is there a chance Brady's a turnover machine? We saw him with Andrew Luck, Bruce Arians. Luck, career high in picks. He's throwing picks nonstop. Carson Palmer, he has like 20-some picks with Arizona. Jameis Winston throws 30 picks. Roethlisberger has never had more picks than when he played with Arians. What's the chance Brady has a high interception total this year?
Like I said before, I think it's good. I think when they go into this game and they play the Saints, if Tom Brady tries to stick to the game plan, he's going to turn the ball over. Because, one, he can't throw deep anymore. He just cannot get the ball out.
It'll help being in the dome. It'll help being in the dome.
It'll help, but still, he can't force the ball far anymore. He can't sling it. And Tom Brady never had a particularly strong arm to begin with.
His arm will look better now than it will at
the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still think if he tries to stick to the game plan, he's going to throw a lot of picks. And I think Bruce Arians is going to tell him, hey, fuck that check down shit. Sling the rock. You can't do it, noodle arm, but sling it anyway.
I agree with you. I think he's going to throw more picks than people think. If he throws less than 10 picks, I will be shocked if he plays all 16. I'll be stunned if he throws less than 10.
I could see 15.
I might see 20.
Could be. Could be 35.
If he throws 35, then Blaine Gabbert's playing.
All right, Trey. I don't have anything else on this. Do you?
No. Last one. Oh, this is the one I want to talk about. I think we have a sucker bet here, Chad. I think people see this line and people are hammering the Chicago Bears because I know you don't gamble a ton, but right now Vegas has the Bears as 3-point underdogs, getting 3 points against the lowly Lions.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, basically, and I'm going to keep it simple because I went to public school, so math is hard for me. So basically, if Detroit has 10 and Chicago has 3, then if you bet Chicago, you'd win money, right?
It would be 10-6 then.
What do you mean?
If let's say the Lions win 21-20, the Bears would cover because they're getting 3.
Right. So, because I can't fucking understand. So, like, if I'm gonna bet, I'm just gonna bet this team's gonna win or this team's gonna win. I can't deal with like the what is it called? The spread?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It fucking, for whatever reason, and I consider myself, even though I make jokes, I consider myself a pretty smart guy. For whatever reason, this is just one thing I can just never get my head around. So as long as Chicago doesn't lose by more than 3 points,
No, if the Lions don't lose by more than 3. Or wait.
Because you said Chicago was the underdog,
you're
right?
right. You're messing with my brain now.
So, right. So if Chicago doesn't lose by more than 3 points and you bet on Chicago, you make money.
Correct. I think this is a sucker bet written all over it. People see, they're playing Detroit. Let me hammer the Bears. Getting points, please. I think Detroit rolls them. I think they play Chicago, and I don't even know if Trubisky will necessarily play terribly because it's not a bad defense. I think Stafford goes in there and he lights them up.
This one I could see it being either one, and here's why. Khalil Mack. I think towards the end of the season, like about halfway, and it was like a switch flicked for this defense. It just about halfway through the season, they pretty much realized with this guy as our fucking quarterback, like we have to be record setting to win.
Yeah.
And I think it broke Chicago's defense. Because it was gradual at first, but around halfway through the season, just a switch flipped. And it was like, are these the same fucking Bears that we saw last year?
Here's the white flag.
It was a bloodbath for their defense about halfway through the season.
There's a lot of white flagging going on over there.
And I think
there was like a 5-week stretch Mac didn't have a sack.
Right. And like he pretty much had one every game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think if this defense shows up, then I think you're wrong. But I'm could also see it going the other way. Because I don't know how they're going to react to Mitch Trubisky being named starter. You went through the whole season last year with him. You get demoralized halfway through the fucking season, and you're just like, we can't fucking win with this guy.
That's my thing.
We can't be perfect every fucking game.
That's my thing. What's changed? What's changed?
Exactly. And now you named this guy the fucking starter like a week ago, and now it's like, holy shit, we have to do it again.
Yep.
We have to be fucking perfect to win every game. And that's a lot to fucking ask for. Defense is fucking hard. Because, I mean, you don't know where the ball's going. You know, offense, you know everything. You know where the ball's supposed to go. You know when you can actually start moving. You know everything. Defense, you're just by the nature of the position a step behind the offense on every play. It's hard to be perfect on defense. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's easier to be perfect on offense than it is to be perfect on defense. So I just think it depends on what Chicago you're going to get. Are you going to get the demoralized guys who were packing it in halfway through the season last year, or are you getting guys that are they re-bought in? They re-upped on Mitch Trubisky. I think TVs are still off in Chicago. I don't fucking know.
I think that's the group you're going to get. I think the first quarter is going to be important. Stafford's going to get one good drive going. Last year, if we forget, and he torched your Eagles last year, this is a guy that was on pace for 5,000 yards, 38 touchdowns. 5,000 yards, 38 touchdowns Stafford was on pace for last year. Guy was out of his mind. He gets one good drive going, first possession. That defense throws in the towel.
I could see it. I could see it. But again, it's the opposite could be true. They could get to Stafford on the first play of the game. And it could be, all right, boys, that's all we needed. That's the adrenaline shot. That's all we needed to get into this. And then they re-upped. They re-buy in. I mean,
first quarter of the season might be huge.
The first drive.
Yeah.
That could – I talked about Cleveland setting the tone for their season against the Ravens when you talked about them. Same thing here with Chicago. This game sets the tone for the entire season.
Yep.
And really, if you're Chicago, what you need to do, you need to come into this game, win the coin toss, get the ball, and then score on your first drive. You need to give your defense confidence in Mitch Trubisky that they lost last year halfway through the season. And you know what? I talked about them losing confidence. I'm pretty sure I know the exact game they lost confidence in Mitch Trubisky as a defense was when they played the Eagles last year and they had -5 yards going into halftime.
I remember that game.
I was at that game. So if they have -5 yards going into halftime week 1,
not gonna happen.
It's all downhill for Seattle or Chicago. I mean,
not gonna happen against the Lions defense.
Probably not. I'm just
Trubisky could play well against the Lions.
That was an over exaggeration, but like I said, they need to get the ball first and score. They need to get points on the board before the Lions do. And I don't know. It's Mitch Trubisky. What are we going to get? Are we going to get, what was it, 2018 Mitch? Or are we getting 2019 Mitch?
Well, I mean,
and I don't think does Matt Nagy have any more tricks left in the bag?
That's what I was going to say. 2018 Mitch and 2019 Mitch are the same guy. It's just the fact that Nagy ran out of plays.
This guy, he must have been racking his fucking brain all year, all fucking offseason. Like, how do I fucking score with this guy? I mean, he's telling him on the side, and you know how demoralizing this is for your defense. You're on the fucking field, you look over, and your coach is screaming at your quarterback, "Shut the fuck up."
The good news is he with the shutdown because of the virus, he had a lot of time. He had a lot of time to think of things.
It wasn't going anywhere. I want to go to the movies, but they're closed, so I guess I'll think of place for Mitch.
I do have 2 points I want to bring up because these two things were bothering me. Number one, there were a lot of jokes about Trubisky because anytime Watson and Mahomes play each other, there's going to be jokes. I just want to know, when are those people going to acknowledge that they were also wrong? Like, you can't make fun of Trubisky if you were wrong. I just don't get that.
What do you mean by wrong?
Well, I just see different media companies being like, Mahomes and Watson, what are they talking about on the sidelines? Or, dude, you had, like, people – there was a lot of media companies that had Trubisky as a first-round prospect. You don't get to make fun of Trubisky. Only I do, and you do. That's it.
I was going to say, because, like, I was at the draft. when he was drafted because it was in Philly that year. And I have a buddy who's a Bears fan. That's why whenever the Eagles play them, we try to go to the game. And if it's in Philly, obviously not if it's in Chicago. But I remember the minute the Bears traded up, I got a text from him. We're getting, I think he said, it was either, I think he said, we're getting Deshaun Watson. And they announced Mitch Trubisky. And everybody at the draft, I got a fucking call from my buddy, said, what the fuck?
But like NFL Network had Trubisky as the number one prospect. ESPN, Trubisky, number one quarterback prospect. Pro Football Focus, Trubisky, number one quarterback prospect. You name it, everybody had Trubisky as the number one prospect except us.
I do not remember him being named number one prospect anywhere.
Mike Mayock, number one prospect on his board during the draft. He worked at NFL Network at the time. I can pull that up right now.
I'm just saying I don't remember it. Like it's
Daniel Jeremiah, number one quarterback prospect. Those guys, whatever media company, you don't get to make fun of Trubisky. You don't get to do it.
I just honestly, I don't remember just because Mitch Trubisky was so far off my radar that I just didn't fucking care about it.
We talked about how many shows, like the guy can't fucking play. Like it wasn't the fact that like, ooh, is he a first round guy or is like he can't fucking play? And we said it for months. The guy can't play. I had him as a 6th round pick. I had him number 8 on my quarterback list that year. He can't play.
I mean, he wasn't even on my list. I was just like,
yeah, but we knew he couldn't play. We both knew he couldn't play. Every draft article I wrote, I said he couldn't play. The guy had never had a shot. He didn't start until his senior year. He couldn't beat out Marquise Williams.
And I mean, since we're on this Mitch Trubisky train right now, I want to bring up the fact that, and again, this is something that we've talked about. I've talked about ad fucking nauseum with people. If you're in the Philly area, it's time to let Nick Foles die. Like, just fucking let it go. You know, I'm sick and tired of people. People are still talking about Nick Foles and that we should have kept Nick Foles. No, we should not have. One, we couldn't have brought him back as a backup because we couldn't have fucking afforded him. 2, he didn't want to be a fucking backup. He came out and said he did not want to be a backup. He wanted to go somewhere and be a starter. You're not keeping Nick Foles over Carson Wentz. You know why? Because Nick Foles couldn't beat out Gardner Minshew and fucking Mitch Trubisky. So let it fucking go. He's not – look, I love Nick Foles. He took my Super Bowl cherry. I'll love him forever. You know, it's like that first girl. You know, I'll always love her, but I'm not in love with her anymore. Same thing with Nick Foles. I will always love Nick Foles, but I'm not in love with Nick Foles.
He's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He can win you a few games.
Ryan Fitzpatrick could go on a run.
He can get hot.
Yeah.
He can come in, be the hot hand, and, you know, maybe hold it down until the quarterback comes out, or if it's the end of the season, win you a few games in the playoffs or whatever. But he's not the every down guy. He's just not the mainstay. And look, Gardner Minshew could be the next big quarterback guy. I don't know. I think it's too early to tell right now.
I don't think
there's some talent there. So maybe that's why he didn't beat out Minshew, is because Minshew's going to be, you know, down the line, he's going to be a top 10, top 5 guy.
Limited arm.
So I'll excuse that. But you're losing the job to Mitch Trubisky. You can't play at that point.
I do have one more topic, and then we can end the show. I don't know how much you have on this.
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Bravo to Dak Prescott. I know you're not a Dak Prescott guy. Comes out, says he dealt with depression after his brother died. Dealt with depression because he was locked in his house because of the pandemic. Didn't know how to deal with it after his brother committed suicide. Then Skip Bayless comes out and makes fun of him. Basically calls him mentally weak and not fit to lead the Cowboys. I I guess I can let you go, Chad, because I wrote 2 articles on it already, so I'm kind of can't deal with it anymore. But what are your thoughts on this? Because I mean, nothing that guy says surprises me, but I don't understand how you can be Fox Sports and say, "Yeah, we're cool with letting Skip Bayless keep his job."
I don't really want to say anything about it just because I didn't really see what Skip said. I saw one 10-second clip where he talked about Dak Prescott, and that's it. And I don't know if he said more. I don't know if that's all there was to it. I will say this. As someone who personally has lost a brother, I can empathize with Dak Prescott. I get 100% what he was going through. I will say the part of the Skip Bayless clip that I listened to, I moderately agreed with. Now, I do commend Dak because, again, I had a brother that passed. I know what it's like to kind of have to pick yourself up after that. What I heard when I listened to Skip Bayless, it kind of seemed like he was saying not that, he didn't empathize with Dak's loss or that he wasn't sorry for that. It seemed from what I heard that he was saying that you kind of have to not move on, but you can't just stop living because of when that happens.
I don't think you saw the bad parts then.
Then yeah, I don't like I said, I don't want to talk about it because from what I saw, it didn't seem like it was like a 10-second clip I watched. So I don't think I saw everything about it. But that one piece, as someone who lost his brother, I agreed with that. Like, yes, it's going to be hard. Get the help that you need, but you can't just lock yourself in your house. You have to actively go out and get the help. And you have to, keep up with your responsibilities, while you're, working on that grief, while you're speaking to a counselor and, you're talking through your problems with a professional. That's the part that I saw. And again, he might have elaborated and said worse, but like I said, I don't want to talk too much on it because I didn't see the whole thing.
I can play the clip for you if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right.
I'm going to ask our audience to feel free to go ahead and condemn me if you choose as cold-blooded and insensitive on this issue. I have deep compassion for clinical depression, but when it comes to the quarterback of an NFL team, you know this as well as better than I do. It's the ultimate leadership position in sports. Am I right about that? You are commanding an entire franchise. What's the roster now? Is it 53 still?
53, but I think they got like 15 practice squad guys.
Okay. But you're commanding a lot of young men and some older men. And they're all looking to you to be their CEO, to be in charge of the football team. Because of all that, I don't have sympathy for him going public with, I got depressed. I suffered depression early in COVID to the point that I couldn't even go work out. Look, he's the quarterback of America's team.
That's where I disagree with him. Why can't it's not okay to talk about it? He's not allowed to say he was going through some shit.
Okay, yeah, that part he's wrong. Like you can come out. I 100% agree. You can come out and tell people like, hey, look, and I've had conversations with people who have asked me about my brother. Like you could come out and say, this is what I was going through. This is what I was dealing with. That's 100% acceptable. And like I said, I think maybe I took it the wrong way, but I agree and disagree. I feel like there's I kind of hear that, and I think it's weird for me to talk about this because it's like I think I might be inferring just based on my own experience with what he might be saying. I will say this personally. I 100% commend Dak Prescott for coming out and letting people know what he was going through. But as far as the Skip Bayless thing, again, when I listened to that, and I guess I did hear the whole clip because that's what I heard. When I listened to that, and again, I might be inferring from my own experience, I feel like I'm more hearing him say, you can't just lock yourself in the house, and not try to, work through everything. But again, I could be inferring.
All right, I think that pretty much does it for me this week then.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, so I go ahead and want to say like and follow the show. If you're watching the YouTube video, like the YouTube video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening, just through the article or through the site, check us out on Twitter. We'll still go subscribe to the YouTube channel, but also follow us on Twitter, Vendetta_media. You can follow Trey at Trey Daubert. You can follow myself at Lowfooted, LILFOOTED. Like us on Facebook. Other than that, thanks for giving us the listen. Glad to have football back, and we'll see you next week.